All right, welcome in. Jeremy the Quartering here. We are taking a look at a hot take, the hottest take out there in the world, the state of the Star Wars fandom, which is, of course, toxic. I know many of you are toxic fans of Star Wars. You are the most toxic kind, where you spend money on their merchandise, and the toxic type of fan that shares their opinions on the direction of the film, or the toxicity to dare buy the action figures or the trading cards. Most of you are probably white males, I also assume. So in the opinion of Brian Young at Swank Motron on Twitter, the Star Wars fandom has dissenters on all sides. So we'll take a look at them one by one and see where the rifts in the fandom are, in hopes of that we can better understand the state of things. It is no stranger to detractors and defenders. Ever since Empire Strikes Back comes out, there have been these divisions between fans. And you remember the prequels, right? Not everyone loved them. Two factors, in his opinion, by the way. He doesn't say in my opinion. He says it as a matter of fact. Two factors contribute to the current situation, perception, that Star Wars is being torn apart more effectively than the soul of Anakin Skywalker. So as we've said before, made a Star Wars reference, and now we know that Swank Motron is, of course, the real fan, right? First, there's so much content coming out. Second, the internet. Not the internet. So first, there's a lot of Star Wars stuff. Now, something as a fan of something, I like to get more of that. It's like, let's just say, if I had to pick something that's pretty great, something that's I'm a big fan of, it would be maybe the BJ. Okay? This is a great thing. And I get as much of it as I possibly can. Okay? So the idea that something you love, getting too much of that thing, while sure there are cases, the fact is not that there's too much Star Wars material. It is that there's too much bad Star Wars material. And the idea that it's the internet's fault. Again, maybe we wouldn't have anything to complain about if we weren't reading articles about Lando banging his android, right? If sites like Syfy Wire didn't have to politicize every little thing and divide the fans into who they voted for president when talking about the Star Wars universe, maybe we wouldn't be complaining about it. But anyway, I digress. News stories and the internet gives people an ability to complain about it ad nauseum. This coming from somebody who, by the way, has a job on the internet. Let's see. This erupted into, by the way, a recent history lesson. The largest overarching fractions of the fandom in the new era arrived in 2014 when Lucasfilm announced that the expanded universe, or EU, would be made legends. No new stories would be made in the timeline. Before then, everyone had pretty much adopted the wait-and-see attitude, right? This erupted into a war among the fandom, with more militant fans of the EU creating petitions, harassing creatives, hiring out billboards, and doing anything they could to plead their cases. Some resorted to terror tactics. Yes, we now know the next move of, this is well-known terror tactic, folks, spoiling the end of movies. That is, he literally is talking about spoiling the end of The Force Awakens as an act of terror. Just saying. This is where this guy's head's at, okay? But then it got ugly. It got ugly, but not as ugly as things to come. The Force Awakens met with nearly universal fanfare. What? A little done. What? It was fun. People overwhelmingly liked it. Disagree. And it became the highest grossing film of all time. That's fact. Some argued it was a rehash of A New Hope, not realizing that The Phantom Menace was too, and that going the other way, Star Wars characters were trilogies in the Skywalker saga went. There were a few who didn't like the film, led by a woman. Now, again, we don't know that this person was making fun of Rose Tico because or an action figure simply because the woman was a lead. This is a unsubstantiated accusation. Though Daisy Ridley left social media, things seemed to get better for a while. Anxiety hit when news of reshoots and troubled productions of Rogue One, but the movie came out and fans were pretty pleased with the final product. Though it didn't make as much money as The Force Awakens, Rogue One was a solid hit with just a few detractors. The real fireworks came from the fandom that would bring out the worst in people. Wouldn't come out till the release of Rian Johnson's masterpiece, The Last Jedi. Let me do this again. Rian Johnson's masterpiece, The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi split off a piece of the fandom that might have been the most toxic. I'd like to preface it by saying some fans have had issues with the films and have been respectful in their critiques and are not racist or misogynists. Unfortunately, for these more respectful Star Wars fans, a small but even louder amount of racist, misogynist Star Wars fans, a small but even louder group of racist and misogynist Star Wars fans have made life a nightmare for fans of The Last Jedi, as well as the cast and crew. In fact, despite my impressive block and mute list these days, I can't tweet the words The Last Jedi without getting some of these fans frothing at the mouth about how Rian Roundhead Johnson somehow ruined Star Wars forever. Now, this is one thing that people like this, you are literally in the public eye. It is literally your job to get people's attention. And then you complain about them disagreeing with you. This is the same attitude of people that think that you can be harassed on Twitter. Just turn off the phone. Log off of Twitter for like an hour, and the internet will move on. The film was lambasted as being against men because Admiral Holdo was right and Poe Dameron was wrong. And then the mental gymnastics were done to try to say up and down that Poe was right and Holdo was wrong. But that's not the way it works, especially in a set command structure. They did not like seeing their male hero emasculated by a purple-haired commanding officer who happened to be female. Yeah, we're writing this whole article about like 3 tweets that this moron saw, right? There's no way. Then, the attacks against Kelly Marie Tran started as a new player in the Star Wars and first female Asian lead. Again, not important. Not important. This particular subset of fans did not take kindly with her presence. They let their racism and misogyny affect their view of the film and somehow interpreted her great, by the way, perfect performance in a way that made them hate the film. And they set out to attack her almost immediately. The Wikipedia page for her character, Rose Tico, was vandalized by these racists. When I pointed it out and posted a screenshot of this shameful behavior, Newsweek even picked up the story. Humble brag, by the way, folks. Humble brag. Other formerly prominent voices in the fandom took this as a conspiracy to accuse me of vandalizing the page myself and running to the Newsweek for attention. Yeah, social justice warriors never do this. They never get caught false flagging, right? What about that Tea Party thing? I believe that was a thing, right? Please don't be spoiler terrorists, folks. Please don't. And then we bring up Chuck Wendig, one of the biggest douches on the planet. Wendig also found out that the boycott organized in the wake of him calling out these fans had the opposite effect. So I tweeted my tweet about shitty Star Wars fans on 5/31, and by that I meant obviously bigoted, harasser jerk-offs, not actual fans, K. And I was assumed and assured that they'd renew the boycotts against my Star Wars books, and I'd lose sales. So let's see how that went. Yeah, virtue signaling works both ways, right? And that brings us to Solo. Loud voices on the right wing, like former comic star. I love how they say former comic star. Get fucked. Ethan Van Sciver's self-funded Cyberfrog comic is a smash success. I love how they're just like, oh, you mean Ethan EVS? I disagree with him. Oh, he's washed up. He's washed up. Definitely don't tweet at this guy and ask if raising $500,000, in a fundraiser makes you washed up for your comic, right? And YouTube channel Geeks and Gamers began decrying Solo. In their mind, a young Han Solo surrounded by a diverse cast was SJW propaganda. No, that's not why we didn't like Solo. And by the way, I am just steaming mad they didn't include me in this. The fact that Han Solo was getting cucked at every turn by every female character in the movie was an issue. I remember, right? They started calling him a soy boy. No! And encouraged their followers who call the film Soylo. Some encouraged a boycott, obliquely or otherwise, and the boycott failed miserably. This movie lost like $80 million. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're saying this film was what they lost $80 million. That is a huge failure. Solo hasn't been the runaway success that a movie as fun as Solo is deserved to be. But as of June 17th, it almost pulled down $200 million in the box office. That doesn't matter. Sales don't matter. How much did you spend on the film? You spent way more than that. You lost a fortune, and you have spun this entire article to critique fans that had the unmitigated gall to have an opinion about a film they don't like. This is why the boycott grows. It's because douchebags like this guy write articles decrying the fandom, and so we just stay away. And we make videos and we laugh at guys like Brian Young on Twitter because they are irrelevant. He is irrelevant. He is suckling at the teat of Disney for insider information and to desperately let's take a look at who could we have on this. Oh, he's a real Star Wars fan, folks. Real Star Wars fan. Let's see. He put out a tweet 4 minutes ago that has 8 likes. When I put out this video, I'm going to link the tweet in the description below. Let's see if we can beat 8 likes and 1 retweet. Let's see if we can, I'll make sure I @ Brian Young too so he sees this video. Let's see if maybe we're a little bit stronger. Maybe we represent a little bit more of the fandom than his disingenuous shit piece article might have represented.